Hello everyone, I'm Xand and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm making a favorite of the Venturers household, and that is shakshuka. Shakshuka is a dish that's commonly served for like a breakfast, brunch type meal, but there's really no reason not to eat it for any meal of the day. As you can see from the ingredients in front of me, very simple dish. We've got tinned tomatoes, we've got a red bell pepper, we've got eggs, we've got an onion, garlic, and then our spice mix is 1 teaspoon each of cumin, cayenne, and paprika. And then we've just got some flat leaf parsley to garnish. The origins of shakshuka are contested, and I'm not going to wade into that battle, but you can trace it back to somewhere in North Africa or the Middle East. So I'm going to get started with the sauce, which is just, I'm going to slice up the red bell pepper and the onion. I'm going to do quite sturdy slices. I'm only going to use half of each because I'm making this dish for just 2 of us. Okay, we've chopped half of the bell pepper, half the onion, and now I think we're going to smash and roughly chop 3 garlic cloves. You can add or subtract depending on your preferences. I like things garlicky. Okay, so we've sliced the onion and the red pepper, and we've smashed and chopped the garlic, and now we're going to get that onto the heat. Okay, so I'm just going to get a sort of small frying pan, preheating on medium heat. I'm going to just get a few good glugs of extra virgin olive oil in the pan. People say you shouldn't cook with extra virgin olive oil. I say that's nonsense. You can cook with it if you like it. Only reason not to cook with extra virgin olive oil is that it's really expensive to cook with in large amounts, and it also obviously imparts a flavor in a way that some neutral oils don't. It's really, like people say, it's got a really low smoke point, and that's true, but the smoke point doesn't really indicate any negative qualities of it necessarily. Yes, deep frying in olive oil is probably not the best idea, but if you're just doing some sauteing, even frying steaks, olive oil is perfectly fine. So I'm going to get the bell pepper, the onion, and the garlic in there. If you don't have a bench scraper in your kitchen, primarily used for baking bread, I use it for transporting produce in my kitchen. It's a game changer. We're going to get a little bit of salt onto these veggies to start drawing out some of the moisture. Salt naturally draws moisture out of pretty much anything, be it meat, vegetables, whatever, so sort of like a trick just to get vegetables sauteing a little bit quicker. It also prevents them from browning too quickly. In this situation, we really just want to sweat these down, and drawing out that moisture really helps soften them without taking on too much color or burning. While they sweat, bring over our eggs, our spice mixture, and our can of tomatoes. If you're cooking this during summertime, I would highly recommend doing this with fresh tomatoes, just chopping them up like 3 or 4 big ones. That will work great. But I'm currently in the throes of winter, so tinned tomatoes are awesome for this. So you can see the onion and the pepper is just starting to slowly soften. The garlic is cooking without burning, which is super important. I wouldn't usually add garlic at the same time as onion because onion can handle a little bit more heat than garlic can, but we are cooking this quite gently. almost ready for the spices to go in. Okay, now that the vegetables have softened and the garlic is starting to get a little bit of color on it, we want to add the spices, which again is cumin, paprika, and cayenne pepper. And we just want to let the spices toast a little before we add the tomatoes in, which will just stop that toasting in its tracks. Okay, so these spices have had 30 seconds to a minute of toasting. Super fragrant, and they've darkened a little, and all of these peppers and onions are pretty tender and soft. So we're going to add in our thinner chopped tomatoes, and then we're going to crank the heat to bring these tomatoes up to a boil. I've seen shakshuka made with a lot of different ingredients. A favorite of mine is to just throw some sliced chorizo in there with the onions and the peppers at the beginning, and you obviously leave the paprika out, otherwise it's super smoky. But I've also seen it traditionally made with ground lamb. I've seen chicken, bacon, all sorts of things. You add zucchini in there. It's really a bit of a blank canvas. This is a base recipe. You can add any number of things to it. So now that we're seeing a bit of a rapid boil of the tomatoes around the edge, I'm going to turn this down. And I'm just going to let that simmer for a few minutes until the tomatoes are cooked through. So while that sauce is bubbling away on the stove, we're just going to get the garnish ready, because once it's done cooking, it all comes together pretty quick. Just going to give this parsley a very quick rinse, and the stalks are relatively tender, so I'm not going to bother being too fussy with getting the stalk, all the leaves off the stalks. Just going to get the big chunky ones out of there, and then I just like to give it a rough chop. Sorted, and that's ready to go on as soon as the food is ready. In terms of accompaniments, I like to serve it with toast or something like that, but today there is no shame in it. I'm just using some store-bought pita breads. I'm going to cut them in half and put them in the toaster, because what's better than a warm toasty pita bread? That sauce looks about done, so let's take a look. So we can see the sauce has bubbled away nicely. It's thickened to a point that we're happy with. You can take it as far as you want, to be honest. I like it to be quite liquid like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add the eggs. And to do that, you just need to make little wells in the sauce. Just going to add the eggs now. To do that, you need to make wells in the sauce. This is where thicker sauce sort of comes in handy. It allows you to make sturdier wells, but I'm not too fussed. It's going to go straight in. Making a mess. It's no big deal. At that point, we're going to crank the heat a little bit. And you're just going to watch the eggs very carefully to see how the whites of the eggs are cooking, because you're essentially poaching the eggs in the sauce. And it's quite a fine line between an overcooked egg and an undercooked egg. And you don't want certain parts of the egg to look cooked from the top, but to still be raw and a little bit too runny in the middle. You want a fully cooked white with a still runny yolk. Our first pita bread, nice and warm. Let's put the next one in. You can see how the eggs are poaching in the liquid, but because most of the heat is coming from the bottom, you can see the whites are cooking very much at the bottom but still very raw and runny on top. And what we're going to do is put a lid on there and let the steam that the sauce is generating cook the eggs from the top down. You can also put this in the oven on the grill setting and cook it from the top, but I tend to find that you run the risk of overcooking the eggs a little bit when you do it that way. Okay, I'm just going to quickly get a lid from one of my pots. And I'm going to stick this onto the pan just to capture some of that steam and cook the eggs from the top down. I'm using a glass lid here so that I can actually see what's going on. This should take 2-3 minutes and then the egg should be nicely cooked. Okay, we've had the lid on there for like 2.5 minutes, and we can see that the egg whites are fully cooked through. So I'm going to kill the heat and get that off the stove. Okay, so there we have it. We have the tomato sauce is darkened really nicely. It's gotten quite nice and thick, and our eggs, if I've timed this right, the white is perfectly cooked and the yolks are nice and runny. I've got some toasted pita, and I'm just going to finish this with some freshly crushed black pepper and with our chopped flat leaf parsley. Okay, so let's dish up. Grab some bowls. Spoon. I'm going to make sure we grab all the good bits. We're going to get a nice bit of sauce along with 1 whole egg. I'm going to add 2 pieces of toasted pita with it. And there you have it. Shakshuka with some toasted pita. Okay, let's find out if I got my egg timing right and see how that yolk is. That's the good stuff. See, that yolk is still nice and runny. All of the white around it is well cooked. So that's pretty much the perfect egg. We've got nice firm white. Okay, I'm gonna have a bite. I like to get a little bit of everything. That's really good for any meal of the day. It is currently almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that feels like a perfectly appropriate thing to be eating. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope I didn't do any disservices to the shakshuka, and I hope you make it. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.